What is going on, everybody? What's up? Kevin Calhoun here. Welcome to the Calhoun Show. We have our good buddy Dan Condie on the podcast today, whenever you're listening to this. We just did a good, hour and 5 minutes together. It was a blast. We talked a ton of NFL stuff. We did some college hoops as we head into March Madness, and we did a bunch of actually a cool story, or an interesting story. I shouldn't say cool because it's a lot of stuff on the line with the U.S. women's hockey team. So we led with that, and you're going to hear that in a second. But before we do that, let's get the particulars out of the way. As always, you can follow the show on Twitter at Calhoun Show and email the show calhounshow@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube, and you can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. You can leave us a voicemail anytime, day or night. 860-740-2119 is the number to do that. If you are listening to this on Thursday morning, you still have time to enter the Calhoun Show's Bracket Challenge. Brackets lock up at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. So if you want to get into the Bracket Challenge and it's before noon on Thursday, you can still do it. Go to the Calhoun Show's Twitter page, Facebook page, podcast feed page on iTunes. It's everywhere. Just go find it, get the link, and go sign up. If you have already signed up, go check your bracket. CBS had an error today, and it wiped half of our brackets out. So if you filled out a bracket, just double check it, make sure it worked, because if it didn't, we can't do anything for you if the tournament starts and your bracket's empty. So those are the particulars that I have. So you guys enjoy. I had a blast with Dan, as I always do. I think you guys will have a good time listening to this, and here you go. All right, we're starting to get to be old hats at this. Dan Condie's back.
I'm back.
You're back. What's going on, dude?
Dude, just life.
Life in general?
Life in general.
That's good.
Found out that we are having a boy.
A boy?
A boy in the end of June.
A second little boy.
Life's been crazy.
Yes.
Life's been crazy, but glad to be back.
Yeah, so we had a whole plan,
yes.
right? We were going to talk, hockey, a little hockey, right?
Sure.
That's...
Teaser.
Let me backtrack. That was not the plan. The plan was we were going to talk basketball and football.
Yes.
And then this
free
hockey
agency
thing
and basketball.
And then this hockey thing came up.
Yes.
So we're going to start there, and then we'll go into the free agency NFL stuff, and we'll talk about the tournament, and we'll do a couple other things. But story comes out this morning.
Yep.
That the U.S. women's national hockey team is not going to attend the IIHF Worlds starting in Michigan this year unless there are significant gains made in equal pay as comparison to the men, and equal opportunity as far as the way, travel, coaching, the youth leagues, the money that gets infused, all of these things.
Sponsorship,
sure, basically.
Sure.
So I texted that to you immediately. I was like, all right, we got to start, because this is a big thing. And you hit on it a minute ago before we started, that this goes way beyond just what the female hockey players want.
Yeah. Well, because you saw this with soccer to some degree. They went to litigation, I believe, and won. The women's team won. I don't know that you can make the same argument, or at least as strong an argument, for women's hockey. Namely because I know who Hope Solo is. I know who Morgan, I barely know.
Yeah, Alex Morgan. Carly Lloyd, yeah.
Carly Lloyd.
Abby Wambach.
Rapinoe, right?
Yep.
And on and on. I could not get nearly as deep into the women's hockey roster.
I could get like two.
Do you know two?
I know two.
Let's hear it.
Hillary Knight.
Because I know zero.
Hillary Knight and Amanda Kessel.
Okay.
And I only know Amanda Kessel because she's Phil Kessel's brother.
Okay. So you have a connection there.
Sure.
Okay. My point is...
And by the way, Grant... who's been on the show before many times.
Yes.
BC hockey guy. Huge advocate. No, but I want to say he's furious at me right now, because there's definitely more BC hockey players on that team that I've seen in person.
Same thing. And you know what? My mind goes instantly to him now whenever I hear women's hockey.
He knows
because
he knows
is
his
the
shit.
only person that I have ever come in contact with to any degree that is an advocate for women's hockey. And is that fair? Probably not. Is women's hockey awesome? Probably. But
it is pretty good. I've seen
but the argument being made here, and the reason why the soccer women, I think, had a stronger case is that they pull ratings. They are
big ratings,
huge ratings. I will watch them. I will make a more concerted effort to watch one of their exhibition games than I will the men's, hands down. And that has nothing to do with the level of talent. It has nothing to do, if the men and women played against each other, the women would get smoked.
I know what it is. It's the sport itself. No, men's hockey, as far as you take the Olympics, right? And you compare the Olympic hockey ratings on TV to the World Cup soccer ratings on TV.
Right.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
It's not even close. Soccer trounces hockey in every way as far as viewership goes. So if it's on a sliding scale, the men are going to get more viewers than the women are. That's just going to happen either way.
Sure.
If you're starting from this point where U.S. men's soccer viewership, which is massive, and the women's soccer team is saying, we're better than them. And if you give us a chance, we'll draw ratings. And guess what? They did. I agree with you, though, because if the ceiling is low for a men's ice hockey team to get ratings, which is low.
Right.
Some people watched. People watched in Vancouver when it was USA Canada. But
they don't have the leverage.
But yeah,
they don't have the leverage,
exactly
and they don't have the eyeballs. And it intrigued me because I thought, well, what if they win? What if there is sort of a professional or Olympic Title IX, so to speak, that comes out that says any team has to have equal sponsorship, equal funding, all that kind of stuff. Will it get to the point where eventually the men's side of things just says, well, let's make it all equal? Why do we have any line drawn? Why don't we just say any human being that wants to run the 100-meter dash, come try out, because everybody's equal?
I agree with that, but that is there.
That far?
But that is there, though. All right, so this is from Greg Wyshynski's piece on Yahoo this morning, but he drew from something else. From a Daily News piece on the battle between women's soccer and the USSF, according to the Ted Stevens Act. So this is what came out of the litigation.
Yep.
U.S. soccer must provide equitable support and encouragement for participation by women where separate programs for male and female athletes are conducted on a national basis. This is the important line. The women's national team is by name equal to the men's national team, and the language of the act refers to participation in world championships. That should mean it is entitled to equitable support and encouragement in every aspect, aside from those supports its members have bargained for away from their employment contracts, so that then they get into collective bargaining and all that stuff.
Okay, so you have the legal precedent there.
Yeah, so basically it's saying if the U.S. is supporting these teams, they have to support them blindly. Team A and Team B, doesn't matter who's on which team, they have to get the same amount.
Okay, however, in this case, this is a trial between the women's soccer team, as I take it, and the United States Soccer Federation. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the court ruled what the Soccer Federation is expected and is obligated to do. Now, does that precedent expand now? Is that your argument?
I guess you'd have to see if it applies.
Team will try to take that, because I feel like there may have been aspects of the case that the women brought up that were favorable in their to their side, that deemed them as fit to receive as the men. But again, I don't know. I haven't delved that deep.
So let me ask you this, because I know on principle side we both agree that they should be funded the same as the men's team. I don't care about what. I shouldn't say I don't care. I don't know what they should be paid as far as an individual salary basis. I know that according to this article, they get paid 6 months out of the 4 years, and they get $1,000 a month. That's what these players make. Now, I don't know what that should be, but I do know that the team should travel on the same kind of plane, stay in the same kind of hotels, and train the same kind of way.
I think the resources should absolutely be the same, and then sponsorship on top of that, because we all know, the Olympics has their own sponsors, McDonald's, Nike, whoever.
Yeah, sure.
That will provide extra funding that maybe the track team doesn't get. The basketball provides. Those kind of things.
You could take the MMA model prior to the Reebok deal. The fighters would make a flat rate, and then their sponsors decide who makes more. Look at golfers. Look at anywhere.
Sure.
You make money outside of what you do. The problem is when you have a team that no one's watching or minimal people are watching, partially due to exposure is their argument. They're not exposed to people, so they don't get watched, and that's fine. Is if you don't have the revenue, sponsors aren't going to show up. So you have to have an overwhelming sponsor that's going to pay everybody.
So what do you think about the argument that the men's hockey team is being compensated not based on the fact that they're men, but based on the fact that their time is worth more?
I think that's true, but it goes beyond that. And again, I'll reference this, which is when they had I think it was Nike jersey unveils for the Olympics. They did not invite the women's team to be part of the photo ceremony where they unveiled Team USA Hockey's jerseys. That's half the hockey players that USA was sending to the Olympics.
Yeah.
They ignored half of the team. The team found out about their uniforms on Twitter. Like, so I agree.
That's dirty.
I agree
That's
that
pretty dirty.
I agree that if you're in the business of making money, you'd rather be in men's hockey than women's hockey.
Sure.
1,000,000%, yeah.
Sure.
But it's the little stuff. And in the little things in this case seem to add up and form just one snowball of problem.
Fair enough.
And I think that's where we're at.
I think, and again, I told you, right when I heard that they were challenging for equal pay, my gut instinct was yes. Like, get them. Go get them. You know, get what you are due. The soccer team, same thing. I say, you know what? Good for you. You know, that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't just be sitting there accepting what people tell you you're worth, no matter who you are, whether you're a women's soccer team, whether you're some worker on the docks. Get what you are due. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I agree.
It led me into an interesting study. It led me to a very interesting study. Now, allow me to get a little team Y chromosome for a minute. Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Do you know how many Olympic and world records a man is not in number one position? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, that makes complete. Yeah,
sense.
It can't be many. Men are bigger and stronger and faster.
Exactly. Of all, but you would think that there would be, you know, some sort of outlier where, you know, a woman's world record is better, more impressive than the men's. There is one. Do you know? We'll narrow it to track and field.
Yeah, it has to be, right? It has to be track and field. All right. Well, it can't be like. It's got to be something weird.
Careful.
It's got to be something weird. No, I don't have to be careful. My goddamn podcast.
Running.
It can't be
jumping.
Fine. Let me finish my sentence then. It can't be running, jumping.
Isn't
it's not
fun?
Is it the pole vault because you can be super goddamn light and go up and over the bar? Is it the pole vault?
No.
What is it?
It's the discus.
What is the discus? Is that where you hold it on your shoulder and throw it?
It's where you hold it straight armed out, but curled up underneath your forearm, and you spin in a circle. It's like a frisbee.
Okay.
Made of concrete.
Okay. So it's the
closest. The women's record is further than the men's record by a half a meter, maybe, I think. Half a meter?
That's pretty good. Foot and a half?
Yeah, it's pretty good. The men's discus weighs 2 kilos, and the women's discus weighs 1 kilo. So, sorry to spoil that.
How dare
so anyway,
you.
Go team Y chromosome. All right, anyway, now that I've alienated
half of the
best friend at least. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry.
See that? Look at that, Sarah. I'm sorry. Everyone knows who you are. So here's a side of this that I was thinking about. And this is the side that really bothers me. And it doesn't really apply, but it gives me a nice jumping off point to go into something else that bothers me.
Okay.
This isn't going to get fixed fully. And I know that because in the end, all of the things that get rung up the flagpole end up on Gary Bettman's desk.
Sure.
Right? And in the world that we're in now, where hockey is covered as poorly as it is, and I'm not talking about ESPN, because I don't care what ESPN does with hockey.
Yeah, right.
I don't turn on ESPN to learn about hockey. That's not what they're there for, and they know that.
Right.
When NBC, who has the national rights to the National Hockey League, on trade deadline day, has a fishing thing on NBC Sports on a marathon all day.
Yep.
Okay. When during the Olympics, they have these big graphics built with LeBron and Curry and Brady and pick the star athlete of any sport in the world, and there's no hockey player on that graphic when they're just highlighting the greatest athletes alive. They are the hockey station, and Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, Connor McDavid, not a peep, nothing.
No.
So, and we'll go a little deeper. NBC Sports again. When you turn on NBC Sports, now you are a late 20-year-old hockey fan.
Early 30s.
Okay, fair enough. I forget these things. I forget you're not my age. You're a little older than me.
Man.
So
I took the high road there. Did you like that? I could have said, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, you were honest.
Yeah.
So when I turn on hockey, and now I've been new to hockey for 10 years now, since I went to college in Pittsburgh. I don't care about the fighting either way. I like the game fast. I like young talent. If every team had a fast fourth line, I would like the game better.
Okay.
Right? The game is trending that way. It's trending that way in a hard way. You look at, the Sean Averys don't have a place in hockey anymore.
No.
Those guys are in the minors now.
Well, you used to have to work the puck over the blue line. That's not the case anymore.
No, it's all
just
speed.
Dump and run.
So that said, when I turn on NBC Sports at night, and what's the goal of NBC Sports is, NHL and NBC, they got the intermission reports and the pre and post game. The goal of those shows, like TNT's NBA coverage does it the best.
Right.
The goal of those shows is to get people to watch and teach them. Teach them the sport. You want to draw new viewers. That's the point of that show.
Right.
Is to engage the viewer and get interest in your sport. You have a sport that's trending toward fast, speed, analytics. You have genius guys from baseball being brought into hockey to run teams because they know how to work the salary cap.
Yep.
And you turn on NBC Sports every night and you have Jeremy Roenick and Mike Milbury breaking down why Sidney Crosby shouldn't protect his head when he goes into a corner.
Yeah.
Mike Milbury is the biggest oaf on TV if you try to stay away from Fox and CNN. He really is the biggest oaf on TV. It's incredible that guy is still on television. But and people, it's Twitter, it's everywhere. Everyone begs and pleads and just asks NBC, please bring in people that we want to watch. There are guys that have retired in the last 4 years that you would watch in a heartbeat talk hockey.
Yep.
But they don't do it.
No.
And because of that, because hockey is in this place where the game is progressing and the people inside the game are progressing, and that's all great. On the outside, the higher ups, the people in charge, it's not going the right way.
No, but you also see the trend of, especially within the United States. Obviously you go to Canada, you can't get away from the hockey. That's all they talk about on their sports networks, right? Yeah. So obviously they're excluded, but that's their market. You come here and NBC is just counting down the days till the next Saturday night or the next Sunday night football. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is where their moneymaker is. That's where they go for the talent. They also go for the talent on Olympic events. Bob Costas is not cheap. Bob Costas is one of the best in the game, but that's where they know their bread is buttered. And that's the difficult thing, is how do you get hockey into the limelight? And, I think that the people covering it is a great first step. I really don't know what else you have to do other than on a word of mouth basis, because that's how I got into hockey. I moved to a hockey town when I was nine and a half.
I just said the same thing about me. Yeah,
never really cared about the Avalanche, even though the very first year we lived there, they won the Stanley Cup. Shut out the Florida Panthers, winning it Game 4 in double overtime. Yui Krupp, some no-name, one and done, one-hit wonder. Never got into hockey until 2001 when they went back, and I actually invested the time to sit and watch a full game, sit and learn the rules, like sit and understand, oh my gosh, it's not just change of possession. It is all the intricacies going on behind the scenes, all the line changes, all the penalty avoidances, all those kind of things that make the game what it is. But you don't know that from a highlight reel. Basketball, you can get a ton of fans just by showing them the 2016 dunk contest.
Yeah, I'm going to tie this in a nice little loop.
Yeah,
right.
Please do.
Exactly what you just said is what I've been circling and can't figure out how to say about this women's U.S. women's team. What they're fighting for is to change that culture, because kids now, I didn't play hockey growing up, right? You didn't play hockey
Street
growing up.
hockey,
How many
but-
kids? But how many kids play ice hockey growing up?
Yeah, very
Very few.
Very few.
Two reasons. One,
Equipment.
it's expensive as shit.
Yep.
And two, it's just hard to find.
Sure.
Not everywhere has ice hockey.
Sure.
So the battle is for girls teams to get, and that's a big part of what they're fighting for is USA hockey, just like USA soccer, just like USA baseball. They can invest in kids, and they have training camps, and they have, all of these different, what's the term I'm looking, like workshops. They bring kids in and they do things in the summertime, right?
Sure.
There's no money there for girls.
Well,
It's just not there. But in order to grow the game,
and this is like
but
in a first world United States where girls have the opportunity. There are girls hockey teams. You think about the dominance that the United States women enjoy in sports, where globally, as far as the men's side, we have no business being competitive.
Yeah.
And it's because of the opportunities that the United States allows them that other countries that are formidable in the male events don't even put out a women's team because they are just underfoot.
So,
you know what I mean?
So the question is, if this is
a struggle, man. It's a global struggle.
If this is the country where there's money, and in Canada, girls can play hockey when they're growing up, and I'm sure it's cheaper than it is here because it's just more readily available. There's more equipment. There's more hand-me-downs. There's just more stuff.
Right.
So in this country, people aren't if you live in a town and there's no team within 20 minutes and you'd have to drive, because that's what you'd have to do, right? Travel teams, things
Drive
like
to the
that.
rink,
The AAU equivalent, whatever that would be in hockey. It's not going to happen if there's no, like you said, word of mouth, if there's no push, if there's no drive. And what the current women's hockey players are looking for, and they're in their 20s and 30s, is for kids that are 6 or 7 to be living in a world where 20 years from now, it's women's hockey and men's hockey, no matter where it is in the pantheon of all sports, are on an equal foot.
So I think we agree. The women and men just need to compete together, and that'll solve everything, right?
Yeah, there you go. That'll work perfectly. Winner of the Stanley Cup final against the winner of the IIHF Women's World Championships, and crown a winner.
Exactly.
You like it?
You like the yeah.
All right, you want to do some football?
Yes.
All right, so you're looking at this. I literally have just an entire page of copious notes. Copious notes that have no rhyme or reason to anybody else looking at them. This is basically free agency roundup.
Okay.
But let's start with the important one.
Yeah.
Which is the guys that haven't gotten a team yet.
That should
get a team.
Glaring ones.
And I asked you, and I have thoughts in my head.
Yep.
I asked you what the perfect fit for the following players are. So we'll go player by player.
Okay.
We'll start with Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson. This is an interesting one. I think that eventually he'll actually end up in Minnesota. Okay. I think it's more beneficial for the two parties. Minnesota hasn't really been a name in, interviewing the other candidates. I think they're waiting for AP to realize that that's where he's going to be best fit. I think Matt Asiata, as a starting option is okay if you've got a great passing game. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they do, at least not right now. So I think Minnesota is the best fit for him, that or Denver. I think Denver's running game is suspect at best. I think you could get value for C.J. Anderson that is much more beneficial by bringing in AP, trading C.J. Anderson, and then having Booker as your go-to guy learning under AP rather than the option 2. It was just weird with Anderson there. He's not the kind of leader I think that AP would be there. So
I would like him in Kansas City.
Okay, I could see that too.
Downhill, everything's downhill running and people keep mentioning the Giants for Adrian Peterson. All they run is single back sets and 3 wide receivers. There's no fullback. There's no down. It's all zone scheme runs.
Right.
He's a terrible fit for that team. Perfect fit for the Giants, by the way. LeGarrette Blount, because the Giants can't score from the 1 yard line.
Yeah, they need somebody.
They can't score from the 1.
Man, I was like, pick up Jennings.
Yeah, there you go.
How could that go wrong?
All right, Jay Cutler.
The couch.
The couch. Well, actually, hold on.
I think the best fit is the Browns.
You're going to go with the Browns. Okay.
I'm going to go with the Browns. I think eventually Jay Cutler will be that person that the Browns reach for because time has passed long enough that his interest or hope that another team will have interest in him will have waned, and that's when the Browns strike.
That's
inevitably.
Fair. That's fair. I'm going to skip my Cutler because it is based off the next one, which is Tony Romo.
Yeah, that one I'm going to say either Denver or Houston, just because he has to go somewhere with a defense. And you and I called this weeks ago. I think on my last appearance here, you called Houston, and I said Denver would be a great pick just because of their defense-ready team.
Yeah.
They're one that you can just place a piece and make all the difference. Houston, I think they're still to some degree unproven. I know that they're a perennial contender, quote unquote, but I don't know how much that has to do with the South. You know what I mean? I don't know that they're knocking down any playoff doors playing in the West or playing in the AFC East.
I'll take that, but I think you'll change course when I say if Tony Romo's on that team, they would have beaten the Patriots in the playoffs.
In which week did Tony Romo stay healthy? You know what I mean? He's just a walking question mark.
I'm okay with that. But if you're the Texans, if you get if you get 16 weeks of Romo, which you wouldn't get, you wouldn't get 16 weeks of him. But say you did, that's a 12-4 team talent wise.
Sure,
that's a 12. That is the second best team in the AFC today if Tony Romo's on it and is healthy.
Sure. Now the second part of the question, Tony Romo is now in a playoff situation.
Sure.
I don't think that anybody would argue that Houston's going to blow everybody's doors off with Tony Romo being the number one seed going into next year's playoffs. Would you give him the number one seed with Romo?
No, the Patriots have built just an absurd team at this point.
Okay, so you're thinking 2 through 4, somewhere 2 through 4.
Yeah.
But they are winning the division, right? I think we can agree on that.
I think if Tony Romo was on that team and played at least 15 games, they'd probably have the second bye.
So I don't trust Tony Romo. Not only with the injury factor, but just as a player. You can argue, he threw a game-winning touchdown or a comeback drive this many times, but then I could also point to this many times where he took a terrible sack, or he threw to the wrong guy when somebody was wide open, or he threw an inconceivable interception. That argument can also be made. So,
okay, but
I think Denver was much more comfortable saying, okay, broken Peyton Manning, why don't you come in here? He was a question mark, but I think even Denver knew that as long as they could keep him on his feet, he would be okay. I don't think that I can say the same thing about Tony Romo.
Okay, but you look at it from the Houston perspective. You have a potentially 12-4 football team. You have to go get Tony Romo. Don't you?
Sure. I'm not saying that there may be somebody better than Tony Romo for Houston. I'm just saying that putting him there still doesn't sell me on Houston being championship material. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll give you a mad hot take, and that's why I saved this. Mm-hmm. Because he can't go to Denver. Because he's been there before, Mr. Cutler.
Oh, Cutler, right.
If he can't go to Denver.
I did think about that.
If Tony Romo goes to Denver, Jay Cutler will win 11 games minimum with the Houston Texans. Minimum. Okay, 10 minimum. I'll go 10. I'll be a little more fair. Jay Cutler should have a shrine on his wall to the Houston Texans and just a Tony Romo picture with an X through it. Just don't. And every morning, just no. Stay away from there. Because that's Jay Cutler's role now. Where does Tony not go? Right? Isn't that what his thing is now?
Yeah, so, okay, if Tony Romo goes to Houston and Cutler can't go to Denver.
So now where does Cutler go?
Okay, so where do you think? I think he goes to the Browns regardless. I don't think Houston's drooling over that.
I would. You know what's sad?
What?
I'd go to the Browns before I went to the Jets now.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd rather be assigned to the ship that's already sunk and be like, hey, if you can get this thing back up and floating, you're a hero.
Well, that's the thing. They're dead. They're dead in the harbor, but they're already they're trying to find pieces to rebuild. The Jets are still like hitting the rocks they're not even in the harbor yet.
The Jets are just continually bailing water for the last 20 years. They're just sinking, and then they like put some like Flex Seal patch on one part of the ship, and then another hole busts somewhere else. They're just kind of unlucky that way.
All right, two quick ones. I don't know if I sent both of these to you. Your boy Kaepernick.
My boy.
You're a Niners guy.
Back up on the Buffalo Bills. How about that?
Back up on the
Back
Buffalo
up to
Bills.
Tyrod.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
System wise, it's just the best.
That's okay.
He has to swallow his pride, though. I don't think that'll be a problem for him. I really don't. I think he's been humbled. I think he's been humbled a little bit. Man, that guy could do no wrong. I mean, stepping in for Alex Smith. Talk about the perfect example of everybody loves the number 2 guy.
That's what they should do.
Because everybody in San Francisco, you couldn't say enough good about Alex Smith to offset the bad, even though the good was completely heavier than the bad side, but as soon as there was an opportunity and Kaepernick just balled out. I mean, he didn't ball in the second half of that who was it, St. Louis? Yeah, St. Louis, when Alex went down. He didn't really ball out in that game, but that Monday night game against Chicago, which now in hindsight is not as impressive, just goes off, dude. Yeah. Just goes off. So I think that proved that he had a higher ceiling than Alex Smith, and I still believe that, but he has not put in the work in the gym. That's the issue. He's so concerned about his social status. Yeah. So concerned about it. And even when he's like, I'm going to do this and be a national hero. Nope, you're not. You're, I guess to some, but that's not how he thought that was going to play out at all.
No, that didn't go well.
No.
That didn't go well. It might cost him his career. By the way, because we got to keep going because we had 1,000 things to do.
Let's do it.
One thing I read, which is genius. What about Rome? And this won't happen because they supposedly really like their guy, which no one understands. What about Jacksonville for either of those guys?
For Romo? Can't understand why they like Bortles?
I don't. But what about Romo in Jacksonville for a year? Teach Bortles some stuff. All that talent, all those weapons, and that defense.
Bortles got hit a lot. Bortles is a big boy.
He'd be back in quick. I didn't say he'd be back out there right away.
I mean, that's just, that's, I guess, the caveat that I add to every single Tony Romo theory is he going to be on his feet? That's why I say Denver's a good option for him, because the Denver O-line can keep him on his feet. The running game being as suspect as they are, imagine if they added AP and Romo. Then I think you're very dangerous.
Yeah.
Just Romo alone in Denver I don't think is enough. Houston's got the running game to keep Tony Romo safe, I think. But I still don't trust him.
All right, let's stick with quarterback.
Yeah.
Big contract. It's not a deep year contract, and it's not Osweiler money like last year.
Yeah.
Mike Glennon is your day one, week one Chicago Bears starting quarterback.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I guess they think someone's going to be good in college next year because they're gunning for the number 1.
What are they calling it now?
Tanking
for Darnold.
Whoever's next.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, Sam. Whatever.
Darnold.
Yeah.
For what is that guy's name in The Incredibles? The bad guy.
The Incredibles. Oh, I don't know.
Yes, the guy with the freaking crazy hair. That's what Sam Darnold looks like. I can't get over that. Everybody listening right now, go Google The Incredibles bad guy and Sam Darnold next to each other.
Everyone listening right now is going, oh yeah, that's right. He said he has a kid. I remember now.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the rest of us are like, yeah, I saw that movie like 17 years ago.
Oh no, I haven't seen The Incredibles in a long time.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, just okay. All right, then I apologize.
Again, took the high road there. I could have got the easy out.
Yeah, you could. I'm giving you. Yeah, my son. Like, all right, so let me give you. I brought up the Jaguars. They bring in Calais Campbell. They bring in AJ Bouye.
Yep.
It's another year of, oh my God, look, Jacksonville's reloading. They're going to do the thing now. But
we'll see.
Now they've got new coach with Doug, what's his face? Marone. And Tom Coughlin's running the show. Is this a real thing? Are the Jaguars a real thing now? Because, again,
I don't know. Are the Buccaneers a real thing?
Yeah, the Bucs are a real thing.
You think?
Yeah. Tampa Bay. I wouldn't
They have
put
the same feel. They kind of have the same feel to me, where I don't know. They're a young team. They show flashes of, prospect, I guess.
Tampa's defense is legit, though.
Yeah, they are.
And Mike Evans is legit. And
Jacksonville is loading on defense, but they're waiting for a lot of pieces to come into their own.
Here's why I wouldn't put those two teams together. Tampa's defense is better, and if you combine both offenses, Jameis Winston and Mike Evans are the best two players.
Yeah.
So they're not; those aren't the same thing.
Yeah, no.
Those aren't the same thing. I made the mistake last year of buying into Jacksonville, and I'm not doing it again unless I see. I need to see Blake Bortles play, or I need to see a real quarterback. If Blake Bortles, because if they build a good defense, maybe that defense can win them a bunch of games this year. Yeah. But you're still not any better than your quarterback.
Well, and the thing is, I don't think they're going to beat out Houston.
I don't either. Depending on who's playing quarterback.
So
we got to know who's playing quarterback.
I don't think the Colts are there yet, and I don't think the Titans are. The Titans are good though. I think the Titans and the Jaguars are really the ones vying for that same spot. Or do you think they get 2 wild cards out of the South? I don't.
Oh, I don't either. I think the South will cannibalize itself to a point, right, where the winner's 10-6, 11-5,
and that's where my expectations for them are kind of curbed, because I don't think that they will do enough to beat out the whoever doesn't win the West. Because I think the Chiefs, Oakland, and Denver are all going to get in. I think so.
And in the South, too, and I agree with you that Indy's not that good.
No.
But they still have the best player in the division. They got rid of Ryan Grigson, and now they're actually signing defensive talent, and they're trying to build a defense. Indy's going to beat teams, too. They're not, that's not a 4-12 team. It's maybe a 7-9, maybe a 7-9, 8-8 team, but yeah, that division's kind of a cluster.
So it's always hard to say.
Alshon Jeffrey, Philadelphia.
Oh, good for him.
1-year contract.
Good for him. Good for Wentz.
Very good for Wentz.
Oh my gosh.
Those receivers,
Torrey, right?
Yeah, those receivers last year, Aguilar and whoever else.
Whoever else is right.
Matthews, whoever else. Dude, not good. So you get Alshon on the 1-year prove-it deal.
Yep.
And you get Torrey Smith, who
which is always the
really
best.
Should have a good year this year, because he was just lost in a bad offense last year.
If you're going to pick up a player where you are kind of iffy about him, don't you want it to be a one and prove it?
Yes.
You never get that kind of effort out of anybody. Look at J.R. Smith. And look at his contract years in New York and also in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Good for him, because he earned his money, whether you like to say so or not.
Did you see the J.R. Smith quote from the other night?
I think I did, but remind me.
They asked him how hard it was going to be to get acquainted with new teammates and new play style and everything. And he said it'll be hard, but coming back down 3-1's hard too. So
I love it.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's forever.
It's beautiful.
It's forever.
All right, real quick, we'll stop by my New York Giants. I know it's a week old now, but I haven't talked to you about it yet. Brandon Marshall is my second outside receiver.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard.
Hey, man, they're loading up.
I'm feeling good. Although, I got to say, and I did the math on this the other day. So San Diego releases DJ Fluker, who, if you don't know who that is, he is a gigantic mountain of a man who can't block anybody.
Yep.
Okay. So the Giants signed him. He's going to be their right tackle.
Good luck.
So they have him on the right side, Eric Flowers.
Not his blind side.
Yeah, no. On his blind side, on his blind side, instead, he has Eric Flowers, who is a bigger mountain of a man that can block less people. So
So
I feel really good about my receivers and the 4 times Eli will have time to throw it to him.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. It's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. So pick a team. I got notes on everybody. Pick a team. Who do you want to talk about?
Any team?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you.
Oh man, let's see how good you're.
I got notes on everybody.
All right, let's hear what you think about.
Well, you got to talk in the microphone.
Let's hear what you think about the
just leaning
LA
over.
Chargers.
The LA Chargers,
your favorite team.
I have a question.
As I've heard.
Well, the LA Rams would be the real thorn in my side. But the Chargers are. Where are they going? Because I look at the Chargers. Phillip Rivers doesn't want to be in LA. They're the second team to go to LA. They're probably the better of the two, but neither of them are any good. I have no, and when I look at the Chargers, I just have identity question mark. Yeah. Who are the Chargers? Exactly. What do they do well?
Let's hear it.
I don't know. I told you.
I picked the right team.
I told you I have notes on everybody, but I don't know. But I don't know who they are. Identity. Who are they?
Yeah. That's what I want to know.
I don't know either.
That's what I'm asking.
Because what does Phillip Rivers do well? He throws the ball well.
He cries.
He does complain.
He cries really, really well. He has kids. He has kids really well. He has kids better.
That's the answer. You know what? We're not talking Chargers anymore. Phillip Rivers has kids well.
Yeah.
That's all we need to know. Let's talk about the Rams for a second, because I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Tavon Austin and Robert Woods the worst 1-2 wide receiver combination in the history of football?
Oh. There has to be a worse one, but I can't think of it, so it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's brutal. It's brutal.
Wow.
Yeah, Jared Goff tossing the ball to him.
Yeah, hey.
It's going to go well.
Yeah.
It's going to go.
Man, that's so bad. That's so bad.
Did you see Ezekiel Elliott pull the girl's boob out at a St. Patrick's Day event?
And?
Well, people are mad at him now.
Yeah, you can't do anything.
Yeah. Jumping in Salvation
Can't
Army
do
buckets,
anything
pulling
these
boobs
days,
out.
man.
What's this guy's problem?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's really mad that I just glossed over that and made a joke out of it. Let's move on and let them be mad.
Or as some people would say, do as I say and not as I do.
Yeah,
do as I do and not as I say.
Some people say that.
Some people say that.
Some people say that. Let me ask you your thoughts about 268-pound Eddie Lacy getting a contract in Seattle.
Hey,
He is huge.
he's a big guy.
And Pete Carroll said, quote, "I want him big."
Yeah, that's Pete Carroll's style. Just, knock him in the mouth on both sides.
Yeah.
I respect that. I wish I was a fan of their team, but I'm not. So
You're not. Martellus Bennett to the Packers, my sneaky best
great.
son.
I'm going to try to pick him up.
Yeah?
Nobody throws to Rodgers. Nobody throws to tight ends like Rodgers.
No. Yeah, he's going to be great there.
Yeah.
Another tight end move that I loved and it was trade, not free agency, Julius Thomas in Miami, back with Adam Gase, where his career exploded in Denver.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Welcome back.
let me ask you about your 49ers.
Oh, man.
So
They made a lot of moves and none that really floored me.
So you seem, not you, your team seems content on a Brian Hoyer 2017 campaign.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I mean, I don't know. I think that they have to be thinking whoever we put back there is not going to be put in a situation to succeed. Yeah. So why overreach for somebody who is already at odds in that position, fighting an uphill battle? You are far better off building a structure, building an identity, building a foundation through trades, through the draft, we're going to be drafting high probably for the next 2 years. If we don't get a good defensive scheme, at least, that is successful together quickly, because if that's not in place in the NFL, you can't go anywhere. The Browns almost got respectable when their defense was keeping scores low, but they were just blowing it. They were just blowing it in the end. Their offense couldn't get them over that hill. They couldn't get over the bump. But Pittsburgh and Baltimore, Kansas City, all these teams are making a living out of keeping scores low and being clutch enough in special teams and on offense to get the game-winning drives when it matters. Yeah. To some degree, you could say New England is that kind of a team, or they can play that way if it's not a high-scoring game. But again, that's a successful team. I think if the 49ers can build their defense back up, then they can go get that quarterback that can complement the defense. But I don't think you start with a quarterback. I think that's a very terrible strategy. Alex Smith wasn't successful until they got the defense, the special teams, and an O-line around him, and then he started blowing up.
I heard an argument that the quarterback has to be the first piece.
I've heard that argument too.
You build a team around what the quarterback does, and not the other way around.
Okay, but
which I think is the opposite of what they're doing in San Francisco with Hoyer now.
How has it been working for the Colts? Because I think that was their strategy. Very easy, very transparently, that was their strategy. How has it been going for them?
I think, it's been going badly. It's been going badly. I think a lot of that has to do with the general manager that we've learned a lot about in the last month. Since Gregson got fired, we've learned a lot about the way the Colts have been run personnel-wise. So it's a good example, but I think it's a weird one. Because I think that's a really shitty general manager. I think that's a really shitty general manager that was running that team. Based on everything we've read, whether it be from the kicker, whose name is escaping me, that just retired. Who was their kicker? He's fun. Pat McAfee, the punter.
Yeah.
So you read McAfee's statements, you read other statements from people in that building.
Sure, it's poorly run. I'll give you that. But what I'm saying is having the quarterback there to build around is not enough if your defense is neglected, if your offensive line is incapable of giving the quarterback time to do anything. You know what I mean? The quarterback success, and this is why you can plug in quarterback A, B, C, D into successful programs, and you won't see that much of a drop-off in the win-loss category. That's why you can see the Garofalo's come in and New England's still successful. You can see the Matt. I will pull that out all day long because where else have they been successful?
That's fine, but on the other side, you have a team that goes 1-15 without Peyton Manning on it, and then back to good with Andrew Luck again. Okay, so there's two sides to that because that was a team that had a quarterback. You remove the quarterback, there's no Jimmy Garoppolo standing there. You're a 1-15 football team immediately within 1 year. Manning was still on the roster when they went 1-15. He was just hurt. So quarterback, I mean, there's a lot of examples. You look at Mariota and Winston. Those are two teams that were somewhat lost. They brought in a quarterback, and now they're building around the styles of those quarterbacks, right? Tennessee had the best running attack in the league last year. With DeMarco Murray, who had had a really awful year the year before in Philadelphia. But it's because Mariota does something well, so they're building the team around it. They drafted Matthews, the guard, or the tackle, or Conklin, whatever his name was, in the first round last year because he's a guy that moves well.
Sure, and I don't think that the 49ers are going to pass up an opportunity to draft somebody.
I agree.
My point is they're not going to go out and buy somebody to put in as an immediate replacement because that will not fix the team immediately.
I think Brian Hoyer is like a perfect Band-Aid for it.
Exactly,
for that team
and that's my point, is that kind of move, you don't go out and reach for it unless you've already got the pieces in place, because a great quarterback in a terrible situation is still a 7-9 team.
So
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and based off that, you being the college football guy here on our podcast,
who do they take?
Is
there anybody
between Trubisky and Watson and these guys? Mm-hmm. Is there a guy that you would take in the first round?
Watson.
You would take him in the first?
Yes.
How high? As high as you need to go with if you need a quarterback.
As you can get him.
If you need a quarterback, you take Watson.
The kid wins. It's just the kid wins. He is a Heisman winning quarterback. He went to the national championship, led his team to the national championship, and almost won it in his freshman season.
In a phenomenal game that he played too.
And then came back and faced the team he lost to, who was arguably better than the team that beat them the year before, and he beat them in a fantastic, gut check sort of game.
Yeah.
That's the quarterback that I want. I don't want some North Dakota State beat every nobody that you ever played quarterback on my team, no matter how good his measurables. I want the X factor. I want the Tim Tebow that actually shows signs of quantifiable skills.
Would you rather have the fourth best quarterback in this draft or Chase Daniel?
That would be very dependent on who you think the fourth best is. So let's determine that.
Get your. I had the top
UNC guy out of the way.
So
with
you have Trubisky, you have Watson, and I think Kaiser would be third. That's what roughly. Who would you have third? But the question is, because Chase Daniel is a $7 million a year backup.
Yeah, no.
But that's how bad this draft is, quarterback-wise.
I know.
It's bad.
I know.
That wasn't a serious question.
Go with Hoyer.
Yeah, so the Chase Daniel question wasn't a real one, but it's funny that that's the options.
Yeah, flip a coin, I guess.
All right, I'm going to save the Patriots for last because there's so much stuff to do. Mm-hmm. I got two more for you, both receivers.
Okay.
Deshaun Jackson. We were talking about Tampa Bay. If there's a hole in that team, it's the deep ball. I think that is behind Marty B, that is one of the best fits in the offseason.
Oh man, I think if you send Deshaun Jackson to Florida, he'll get arrested immediately.
That seems possible. Yeah, that seems possible.
So there's that.
But Deshaun Jackson,
yes, you do need a deep threat because Jameis still has a lot of years of chucking the football.
Yep.
You know, and just realistically, logistically, there aren't wide receivers that are fast enough to get as deep as Jameis can throw it as quick as he can off the snap. That's the problem. You have to give them time and then chuck the ball, and that is very hard to get in sync with. Deshaun Jackson, I think you have to keep him on a leash to some degree, but that could be worked out contractually, I'm sure. I like it.
The analytics.
Get out of Washington.
I read an article on him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's and speaking as somebody, and I put this on Twitter. I did a celebratory shot on free agency night the day that Deshaun Jackson was out of the fucking NFC East. Oh my God. You know how long I've been dealing with that guy between Philadelphia and Washington? It's been a long, long road with Deshaun Jackson in the NFC East. So it's great to see him go.
Yeah.
But you read the advanced stats on this guy and the things that he does, he creates quarterbacks that can throw deep. Kirk Cousins' numbers throwing to anyone that's not Deshaun Jackson 30 yards or more down the field are horrendous.
I'm sure.
And they're great throwing to Deshaun Jackson. Yeah. Nick Foles' numbers throwing to anyone that wasn't Deshaun Jackson, awful.
Yeah.
But Deshaun Jackson, he creates space. Like, he's so fast, but he knows what he's doing running routes.
He's that receiver that you have to throw to because he's already 5 yards open and increasing. You're like, oh no, am I going to have enough arm? Like, that's the question at that point. Dude. You know, it's not who do I throw to. That's the kind of guy you want. That's who Randy Moss was.
Yeah.
You know, that's who T.O. was.
Torrey Smith
blow guys off the line.
Torrey Smith in the beginning of his career with Baltimore.
I was so excited when he came to the Niners and just nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. He caught like one deep ball for a TD in game 1, I think, of that season. What was it, 2013, I want to say? Or was it 12?
I don't know.
Did they have no? Because Torrey was still on the Ravens in 12, so it had to be 13. He came over with Anquan Bolden, I want to say.
I think it was the year after.
Anyway,
either way.
Whatever. He's a huge threat. You need a guy like that on your team.
So, last one before we go to New England.
Yep.
And this is the one that confuses me. I don't understand. So, you look at the Browns. The hapless, sad franchise.
Sure.
Starving for talent. Yep. Starving for stars. Right? They need all these things.
Yep.
They have the opportunity to RFA tender a young electric wide receiver. And they let Terrell Pryor walk.
Yep.
Okay. So Terrell Pryor, young electric player, huge upside, 1,000-yard receiver on the damn Browns who can't throw the ball.
Yeah.
Right. He hits
multifaceted. I mean, this guy can do everything.
He can do everything, right?
Everything.
He hits the open market.
Yep.
And garners a 1-year, $8 million prove-it deal.
Yeah.
What is wrong with Terrell Pryor?
There has to be some sort of
I don't understand.
Unspoken. Yeah.
The dude looks...
Because you would think that he would be offended by such an offer, but the fact that he took it says a lot, too, because he doesn't have leverage. So what do they have?
You're from out there in the West.
Yep.
He looks to me on the field like Brandon Marshall for the Broncos. That's how he plays. Like, he's big, explosive. He looks as talented if he has more time at receiver.
He can find open space.
He gets a 1-year, $8 million contract. I don't understand that. There's got to be something deeper with him that teams won't invest at all.
Let's find out.
Because he seems way better than that. All right, so the Patriots are last. Yep. We mentioned Jimmy G, so let's start there.
Okay.
If you were Bill Belichick, you're in control of all the things going on in New England.
Yeah.
What do you do with Garoppolo?
Oh, man. I mean... the market for him right now is probably better than it's going to be if they keep him as a backup and then try to deal. Because this is his last year, I take it.
This will be his. This will be his last year.
Okay, so you know he's going to be gone, more than likely.
Yeah.
There's going to be a team that will pay him for some position on their team, whether it's starter. Who knows?
Oh, he's a starter in the next 16 months. He's for sure starting for somebody in 16 months. It might be a month from now he's a starter on a team, but week 1 next year, that dude's a starting quarterback.
Okay, so...
just by, I don't know talent-wise, but just by what is said about him and where his career is headed, he's a starter.
Exactly. So like I said, the market for him right now, if you're looking to trade him, is you have to do it now. I think that Kraft understands that. So I guess the question is, in conversation with the hoodie, what is Robert Kraft asking team-wise, what's the team need? What can you get for Garofalo? Because I don't think, or Garoppolo, you don't keep him.
Jeannie Garofalo.
Yeah, Garofalo. And her. Because I think I'm pretty sure she's under contract with some sort of Boston.
Belichick's got everybody under contract. He controls everyone. It's fine.
He's got me under contract.
I knew it. You were going easy on him.
Yeah. No, but I think that you have to. I don't even know where you bolster. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, as far as...
They're pretty good.
Yeah, it's just... I guess you just see what you can get on the market for them, but you definitely be making calls to everybody who's interested.
You just traded your first-round draft pick for Brandon Cooks, which we can talk about. You can get that draft pick right back for Garoppolo. You can get a first-round pick higher up in that round. You could go as high as you want.
Across,
Cleveland might give them the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, okay,
I would. If I'm Cleveland, I'd give them the number 1 pick for Garoppolo in a heartbeat.
That's what I would do then.
Heartbeat.
I mean, but that's obviously, probably the best opportunity that you will get. A first round draft pick from the Cleveland Browns is like bonds. The value always is going to be high.
Yeah, it's going to be there. Yeah, they'll cash you in.
And immovable.
They'll cash you in on that one.
Exactly.
It's a
confident investment.
I don't understand these teams. If Garoppolo's out there and you listen to people talk about him, Mike Lombardi, who goes on Simmons' podcast, who's a former Patriots executive, he talks about him and he says, I know why they're not trading him. Because I watched him practice. He can play. He can actually play. That's why they don't want to trade him. So if the feeling across the entire league seems to be Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the league. He just happens to be Tom Brady's backup. That seems to be the popular opinion.
He just happens to be. As if there's no correlation. As if there's no correlation between Aaron Rodgers backing up Brett Favre.
That's a good point.
Oh, I hate
that's
that.
A good point. That's a good point.
I hate that. Matt Castle being so good, and I will always go back to that, is because he was playing behind Tom Brady. And Osweiler's value was because he was playing behind Peyton Manning. He goes elsewhere, and oops, not so good.
Bill Burr has an argument against Matt Castle. That's my favorite sports argument of all time. I'm pretty sure they were 15-1 the year before, or 14-2. Maybe it was that the 16-0 year.
That was the 16-0 year.
So they were 16-0 the year before, and then they went 10-6 with Castle. So Bill Burr's argument is if that was a 12-4 team, now they're 6-10. Castle sucks. Yeah, they were -6. He took a Tom Brady team and won 6 less games. So Castle wasn't good. Castle's a bad argument, not for you. I'm not saying your argument's bad, but Castle's such a funny one because everybody forgets they dropped off 6 games. They lost 6 less without Brady, and everybody says, "Oh, they just plugged Matt Castle right in." Not really.
Not really. They
won
but
10 games in spite of him. They won 10 games in spite of him.
Well, not really though, because he had instant value after that season as a plug-in starter for another team, and to say that that his play week in and week out wasn't scrutinized is also false. Because I remember SportsCenter. The first story that, he keeps doing it again. He did it again. He's actually showing signs of being a good quarterback. What do you know? What's going to happen next season? Oh, who wants him? Who wants him? And what do you know? He goes off to KC before getting injured, I believe, right? Didn't he take a horrible headshot?
It sounds right.
It sounds about right, right?
It would make sense if it happened before we saw him play, but yeah.
But who would Matt Castle be if he were to be, Mark Sanchez's backup, or a backup to somebody who is not Tom Brady?
I agree. He had the opportunity. Garoppolo feels different though. He feels talented.
It's because he's hot.
Castle never felt talented. Garoppolo, you see him play and you watch, and I heard somebody say this and I agree with it, that in games that Brady hasn't played, or in games that you lose a starter and a backup comes in, and we saw very limited Garoppolo because he got hurt.
That's another thing.
The six quarters that he played were the 6 best backup quarters we've seen as far as promise goes for a young player.
I liked Kaepernick better. I liked Kaepernick against the Bears way better than Garoppolo against anybody he played. Can you make that argument?
Oh, I can't. I didn't. Oh, that's a good point. Although I'd rather have Garoppolo than Kaepernick, though.
Yeah, hindsight. In hindsight, we're talking 16. That's what I'm saying. You have such a limited window of comparison. I mean, Tebow is freaking amazing in practice. Guess who else is amazing in practice? Jake Heaps. You know who Jake Heaps is?
Sure don't.
Sure don't. He was the number 1 recruited quarterback coming out of high school in 2000 something. 2009.
He was
something
destined
like
for failure with the name Jake Heaps.
Jake Heaps.
That's a bad name.
He was destined for failure as soon as he signed a letter of intent to play at BYU. So he goes to play at BYU, stinks up the place single-handedly, gets drafted anyway to the NFL. To who do you think? The New York Jets.
Oh, beautiful.
The New York Jets picked this kid up, and I think he was signed on as a free agent still. It's terrible. They give this kid reps in practice. I think he might have seen a preseason. I think he might have seen a preseason snap. I'm not sure. But all you heard about this kid was he's amazing in practice. He's amazing. You should see this kid. His technique is immeasurable. It's so amazing. And you hear the same things about all these players because they don't hack it on the field. And Garoppolo didn't do too bad for those 6 quarters. I agree, but I need a bigger sample size for him. So we'll see.
I agree. I think everybody. Yeah, that's for sure. All right. So with the Patriots, real quick, news came out today. They re-signed Dont'a Hightower.
Yep.
Which, by the way, there's a really interesting piece about Hightower, and I'm not going to go into it. If you guys want to check it out, it's on Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's website. Ed Bouchette wrote it, basically comparing Hightower to Lawrence Timmons, who left Pittsburgh for Miami.
Yep.
And Pittsburgh was taking a hard look at Hightower, and he's a horrible fit for Pittsburgh. And it's actually I learned a lot about what Dont'a Hightower actually has accomplished in the NFL because he got a lot of money today. So check that out if you want. Did you have any more football things before we move on?
I do not. I'm gonna hit the restroom though.
We can
awesome music breaks.
We'll do a quick little. All right, Stephanie's gonna say the name of the show. Ready?
Thanks, Stephanie.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, Steph, go.
The Calhoun Show.
Oh, beautiful job, Stephanie. Right on cue from Washington, D.C., just right into the computer.
It's amazing. She's so dedicated.
All right, so we got you for another 10. So let's talk some basketball.
Okay.
We'll start with college. And you being a listener and guest of this show, and the people listening being listeners of the show, know one thing about me. I don't give a shit about college basketball.
True.
I do enjoy myself an NCAA tournament.
Who doesn't?
I like watching some conference title games. I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I don't bother to learn anybody's name. They're not the same players next year. I know the coaches.
Right.
What interests you in this year's NCAA tournament?
The fact that anybody could win it. It's been said by a handful of different analysts that if you played this tournament 5 times, you would get 5 different champions. If you played it 10 times, you'd get, whatever. There is so much, I don't even want to say parity, but lack of strength at the top. I mean, Villanova is a great team. I could see Villanova winning it. Kansas is great. I think Duke is hot and has the ability to be great, but they're also hot-headed and can get streaky. Arizona is hot, but they have that same problem. I think ultimately it'll come down to who is better capable of defending against multiple different styles of offense and which team has a superstar-like player. Mm-hmm. And for me, that determined my champion, who shall remain
nameless for now.
Nameless
for now.
I don't trust anybody listening on Thursday morning. I'm just kidding. But seriously, I'm not saying who.
Who's your Final Four? Come on.
Almost.
You're an analyst.
Almost.
You're an analyst. Come on. Who's your Final Four?
So my Final Four, I've got Villanova, Arizona, Kansas, and UNC.
Okay.
Fairly chalk. I was tempted to put Butler in over North Carolina.
Yep.
I was tempted to put Kentucky in.
Yep. UCLA, any love?
No. UCLA, Ball's injured.
Oh, that's
injured
right.
his thumb in the tournament, and I don't trust UCLA's defense to stop a nosebleed. So unless they're shooting the lights out every single night, they may get as deep as the Elite Eight, but because I don't trust them, I've got them out early. Better safe than sorry.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Now, I want to talk about Kentucky.
Okay.
Because I know Ball, I know a few people. And I've heard it said, and after I've watched the teams I've watched the most, I've watched more Duke games and Kentucky games than anybody else this year.
Okay.
Somehow 3 Syracuse games got in there too. I'm not sure. One of them was the Duke game though, so that I guess that makes sense.
Okay.
And not an original thought. I've heard it said, and having watched multiple Kentucky games this year, if they figure out that Malik Monk is the best player on the floor, they should win the title.
Yeah, but the other teams have already figured that out too.
But Kentucky doesn't get. They don't use him. They don't use him enough. He should be ball dominant this entire tournament. If you let him be ball dominant, they win the championship this year. He's the best player, and I know Ball's great. I think he's the best player in college basketball.
I don't think Ball's the best player. Yeah, no, I would agree. I think he's great. But I don't know. There's just something about Kentucky that this year they've proven not to be able to play fluidly as a team. So
I think Cal's going to figure it out. I think Calipari's going to figure it out.
We'll see.
And I honestly, I want UCLA Kentucky in the Sweet 16.
UCLA Kentucky.
I want that in the Sweet 16 so bad.
I have it.
I haven't even filled out. I haven't even filled out one. I'm not allowed to fill out a bracket for the show's bracket challenge this year.
You're not allowed to.
I won last year, and I got yelled at by the corporate overlords that this podcast has.
Whatever. Okay.
Corporate overlord. She recorded that little drop there.
Shouldn't the listeners be the whole intrigue of
no,
that?
I know. I'm going to put one in. I'm going to put one in. I'm going to put one in. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. It's right there. You see, it's blank, but I clicked on Kentucky once, so I've already made one pick so far.
Okay.
I'm having Kentucky in my Final Four.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, they got the last play-in games tonight.
Yep.
I think I put a couple play-in teams to go ahead. I picked. Where is it? It's there it is, Kansas State. I picked Kansas State to beat Cincinnati in the upset, 11 over the 6. And I believe I also put in VCU. They weren't a play-in game, but I put them in.
All right, so typical bracket questions. What's your 12-5 upset?
I don't know if I had one, to be honest with you. I've got Virginia over UNC Wilmington. I've got Notre Dame actually going all the way to the Sweet 16.
Really?
Yeah, I have them actually in the Elite 8. I have them beating Gonzaga because Gonzaga is a team I also don't trust. I've got
Middle Tennessee over Minnesota?
No, that's the one that I wanted to go for, but Minnesota's been playing well lately, so I put Minnesota in over them.
Yep.
I also have Iowa State over Nevada because I don't think Nevada's been very good this year. I think they got the 12 due to their tournament success in the Mountain West, but that really doesn't strike me as very impressive this year. San Diego State has fallen way off. Obviously, BYU is not in that conference anymore. They buoyed the team up, buoyed the conference up. They're gone. So Nevada's not very impressive. I think more often than not, I have the 11 upsetting the 6, and I've got the 10 upsetting the 11 a lot. But other than that,
I like that.
Yeah,
I dig it. I'll give my champion if you want to. You're gonna hold yours.
The champion. Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to mine.
You're gonna hold on to it. You gotta tweet it tomorrow. At 16 p.m.
After 12, I'll tweet my champion.
All right, you know what? I'll save it.
Too late to copy my brilliance.
I'll copy my bracket and we'll post. I'll get Dan's from his tomorrow.
Yep.
And I'll post both of them on Twitter.
Fair enough.
At Shut Up Calhoun. All right, can I ask you one NBA question before you go?
Yes, do.
Is it more damning for the people in charge in Golden State or Steph Curry how badly they've played since Durant got hurt?
I don't know. That's hard to say because Durant came in and made such a difference right away.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the top scorer, which I didn't see happening, to be honest with you. I thought Steph was still going to run the majority of the offense because of how KD deferred to Russ so much. So
Sure.
that was very surprising to me. But whenever you take out the leading scorer, it messes with the flow of your team, especially this late into the season. So I don't know. I would not have been surprised either way. If they got better without him, I would not have been surprised. And if they, seeing what they did, I'm not surprised. They're playing a little better, but they're losing to some teams they have no business losing to, which is great because I hate Golden State.
As you go out
Yes.
the door, I will tell you breaking news. The New York Jets have signed a quarterback. They're actually going to bring Jake Heaps back to try to play him again this year.
Oh, my gosh.
Mr.
Is this
Condie.
real?
No. Yes, yeah, they're really going to bring back Jake Keeps.
Gosh.
No, all right. Mr. Condie, as always, pleasure.
Appreciate you.
You got anything else? Anything else you want to touch on?
I don't.
That's
I
it.
really don't. I'll be back.
At 4th and 1 Sports on Twitter. We will talk to him again very soon.
Yes, sir.
See you, buddy.
The Calhoun Show.
All right, as always, big thank you to Dan for coming in. I have a blast doing the podcast with him. I really do. So, thank you to him and to you guys for downloading. If you're new to the podcast and this was your first episode, welcome aboard. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoyed it a lot, recommend it to somebody else. And if you would be so kind, iTunes, leave us a nice little rating and a review, and that'll help push the show to new people. We're growing every week, and you guys are helping us do that. So trust me, we don't take it lightly when you guys push the show and tweet at us and tweet about us. So a big thank you if you do that. A reminder that the bracket challenge locks up at 12:15 on Thursday. So if you've downloaded this Thursday morning and you are listening to it, then do yourself a favor. Go to the Calhoun Show's Facebook page or Twitter page, find the link, head over to CBS Sports, and fill out your bracket. That's it. We're done. Enjoy the first weekend of the tournament. Enjoy as the NFL offseason continues to unwind and we see what happens with free agents. And we're going to keep digging ourselves out. We've had a hell of a snowstorm up here in the last few days. It wasn't too bad here. There's been 30, 40 inches other places in New England, but we only got about a foot, and I was out for 3 hours last night and another hour this morning. But in the end, it's not that bad. All right, guys, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Calhoun Show. Join the conversation by following the show on Twitter @Calhoun Show and emailing the show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe and download for free on iTunes. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail by calling 860-740-2119.